Not only have I found more evidence of a fourth boat, not only have I found a lie in their timeline, but I have also discovered a deep political connection, not only to a former governor of Mississippi, but to Turning Point USA. Playing with the contrast in this picture to try and get a better picture of the pattern on Morgan's swimsuit from Nolan's mom's Instagram from the day after he went missing. This was the picture that she was sent. Oh, these little liars. I told y'all that Jax was the ringleader. I told y'all. He sat in this interview and he was telling stories about shit that he wasn't even there to witness.
As investigators scrutinize Nolan Wells' final hours, a consistent timeline is becoming impossible to build. We know the group traveled to Horn Island together, and we know Nolan was there when they departed. But when those boats docked back on the mainland, Nolan wasn't on board. The gap between those two moments is now the primary focus of the investigation, starting with a major discrepancy in the accounts surrounding the boats.
First off, this picture has surfaced in which it's clearly the group of boats a little bit further out in the water all together. Now here's what is supposedly Bart's boat. We can see the Garmin on top, can confirm this black boat from this other picture. We can see Wyatt's Triton right here, and we can confirm that by the motor. As you can see right here, has that black stripe on the white motor. Now in between the two boats is the Palm Beach. You can clearly see it labeled and it's got that stripe, right? As you can see, the stripe is there. And yet there's this design right here and no Palm Beach. And you may be like, Jay, that doesn't prove that it's a different boat. Maybe we just can't see it, even though it should be right there according to this picture. But if you look in this video, you can see that there is a black propeller right there. See black propeller, and you can very clearly see the Palm Beach right there on the side. And if you look really carefully in this photo, you can see right there a black propeller. There's another boat on the other side of these three boats. And given the lack of the name on the boat and the black propeller, I'm going to assume the Palm Beach is on the other side, which means there's 4 boats right here. So Wyatt had his buddy's boat already hooked up to the back of his truck. He said he and Wyatt and his other buddy went and got ice and filled up the boats. And Wyatt went and put the Palm Beach, his smaller boat, into the water. And we know that there was a second boat, the Triton, that was driven by Wyatt. Wyatt had 2 boats in the water. Who was driving his other boat?
According to Warren Hudson, the morning started with several boats in play. He stated that a vessel was already attached to his truck when he got up, and that Wyatt handled the launch of an 18-foot Palm Beach. Warren says he made the trip with Brad Edmonston, while others followed in a different boat. It sounds like a standard arrangement, but once you place the witness statements alongside the available photos, the story begins to fall apart.
Nolan was on Wyatt Pyron's 22 Triton. On the way out, I went with my buddy Bart because we had a lot of friends from college coming down, and I called Bart that morning. I was like, hey man, can you take your boat out? And he was like, yeah, well, my dad's decided not to go, and I'll take the boat and I'll take you and your friends. Of course, I mean, he's a buddy of mine. And so Bart pulled up at the dock, and I mean, I rode out there with Bart and a lot of the girls that go to college with my friends and I, and Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. There was like 8 people on the Triton, and then there was 8 or 9 people on the Triton, and then there was the rest of the group, which was probably ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people.
Now wait a minute. So Warren already had a boat hooked up when he woke up that morning. I'm assuming that that had to be the Triton that was hooked up, right? Then he said that Wyatt went and put his smaller boat, the Palm Beach, into the water. Then Warren said that he was the one who drove the Palm Beach to their friend's dock. Assuming that Wyatt drove the Triton to the dock and Bart drove his own boat to that dock, who drove the Palm Beach out to the water then? Because he said that he got a ride in with Bart, even though at one point during the interview he said all of his stuff was on the Palm Beach. So it sounds to me like Warren was the one driving the Palm Beach. I'm also like, what parent would let their kid, who's obviously going off to party, take 2 of their boats and let their drunk friends drive? Like, it isn't making sense to me. I mean, maybe these parents are just shitty parents and irresponsible. Then he also said that he contacted Bart that morning to see if he could come, and Bart was like, yeah, I can give all your friends a ride, blah, blah, blah. According to him, there were 10-ish people, 15 people on that boat. So where were those people originally supposed to ride in on? They'd been planning it for weeks. They were excited about it. Why did Bart have to suddenly step in and take all these people? And remember, Bart said that his dad had canceled going out on the boat that day, so he could do it. Something's not adding up here. I think there was an adult somewhere in this mix. It would also explain how they all thought quickly on their feet with the sea tow. I wouldn't be surprised if an adult didn't come out there and just go off with other adults that were also on Horn Island and let the kids hang out with the boat.
Photographs from the scene show the Triton and the Palm Beach, but look closer, and a fourth hull seems to emerge from the water. It's a detail that changes everything, because more boats mean more people, and more people mean more secrets. The mystery deepens when you look at the GPS. Warren's story was simple. They stopped to fix a drain plug before moving toward Fort Bayou. But the digital breadcrumbs show a detour to El Camino Road that Warren never mentioned. It might seem like a small slip in memory, but in an investigation this tight, a recorded movement that contradicts a witness statement is a major red flag, especially when Nolan's life depends on where that boat actually went.
Here's where things are going to get interesting, folks. There are more GPS coordinates in the report than what we have seen publicly. I'm going to play you a clip from the interview, but remember, at 5:30 is when they started picking up regular speed, all right? It's right here, 525, speed miles, 30 to 35 knots. So here we go.
Planed off and you have water in the boat and you're hauling, we're going pretty fast. We're going probably 40, 42 miles an hour. And so all that excess water that was built up in the boat is coming out of the boat. So, that's what we had to do. So we ran into Fort Bayou, and we didn't just run straight to my buddy's grandparents' house. We ran into Fort Bayou. A couple of us jumped in the water, and Wyatt, the whole reason for the stop was so Wyatt could hop in and put the plug back in the boat. So then after that, we went and docked it. And I went back to my buddy's house and we ate and, napped for a little bit. It was a long day at the islands.
Now you heard him. He said that they took off going 40 miles an hour and they didn't go to his buddy's grandparents' house, but they went to Fort Bayou to go do a plug thing. Except right here, 5:44, vessel arrives at El Camino Road. 8 minutes later, then it departs from El Camino Road and headed east into Fort Bayou. So right there we have a lie. The boat did stop before going into Fort Bayou. 6 minutes later, it comes back to El Camino Road, and the vessel departed El Camino Road half an hour later, headed southwest to St. Martin Bayou, and then turned southeast into Biloxi Bay Bridge. Then they went back to the Bayou boat launch. Then the boat was taken to Cardinal Lane, which was Wyatt's residence. Now, because I am an absolute genius, I was able to find it. This was where they left and where they came back that day, then came back several times. Now, first off, why aren't we seeing footage of them returning that day? We know that Nolan was with them when they left, so why do they have the security cams from that morning, but not that night? Whose grandparents lived there? Jax Patalo, whose family owns a pharmacy. It goes back deeper than that because George Patalo Sr., which is Jax's great-grandfather who is deceased, as it turns out, his great-grandfather was appointed and served on the staff of Mississippi Governor Cliff Finch. As you can see, I've confirmed Jax's relation to him. And as it turns out, Cliff Finch, well, he was in the Mississippi House of Representatives from 1960 to 1964 and supported racial segregation and backed the racist governor, to preserve segregation in the state. The federal grand jury conducted a 3-year-long investigation into his administration and several state agencies, and they were all accused of corruption and mismanagement. Finch was never found guilty himself, but some of his aides and appointees were indicted. And those sort of political connections seem to trickle down through the generations, so now we know why the governor got involved. And I started looking into the lawyer that's handling the defamation case from the Bart family. So from 2015 to 2018, he was state director of Americans for Prosperity. Then in 2018 to 2020, he was vice president of Stand Together while being vice president of Americans for Prosperity. Stand Together is a Charles Koch nonprofit, and Americans for Prosperity is a libertarian conservative political advocacy group affiliated with Charles Koch and David Koch. And if you don't know who the Koch brothers are, they're fucking evil. Guess who's one of the major funders for Turning Point USA? Major donors for the Koch brothers also are primary financial pillars for Turning Point USA, specifically their campus operations. And guess who used to serve as the director of urban engagement? This is now my third time making this video because they keep taking it down because they don't want you to see what I have found. Katie has dry snitched, y'all. Here we see Katie's Snapchat where she's wearing a teal swimsuit and she's with a girl in a blue and white striped swimsuit. On this video of the 3 boats, you're gonna see a girl in a blue and white striped swimsuit right here on Bart's boat, and right next to her with the same long wet hair is a girl in a teal swimsuit on Bart's boat. Make sure you have your brightness turned all the way up because here we have Katie in a teal swimsuit and look at her head. She is wearing a white hat. Oh look, the video of the boat getting towed. Teal swimsuit, white hat. And that's not all, folks. Again, turn your brightness all the way up because right here we've got somebody wearing red trunks. Oh, and look what we have here. Red trunks. And here's those same red trunks on the shore right after the fight with Tristan. Katie is claiming that she allegedly caught a ride home with somebody named Marty McGrath. It just so happens that a Marty McGrath is the co-owner of the Biloxi Bay RV Resort and Marina in St. Martin.